I'm an Excel monkey and a PowerPoint slide donkey.
Trying to make numbers believable to people and believe in us.
I take people's money away from them so that they can't spend.
Welcome to our live chat session for today, where we are exploring the finance industry and what that industry might be like. So without further ado, I'm gonna kickstart the session off. We have some of the youth personalities that represent you guys.
Good morning everyone, I'm James, currently in Maritime Studies.
Hi, I'm Pavel. I'm a Year 1 business student at SMU.
Cool, you guys can take your seats first, and then after that we are going to be introducing the working professionals who represent the finance industry, who come from different walks of life. And here they come. Assistant, please bring in the table. We want to kick off by getting our guests to create their own food item with different ingredients. Okay, for today we are making skewers, and each of these different ingredients will represent different parts of their job. We're gonna better understand what are their jobs like on a day-to-day basis, but we can also see how does it differ from people to people. In 2 minutes, they are supposed to assemble their own skewers, and that will represent what they imagine work in the finance industry is like. 3, 2, 1, your 2 minutes starts.
I'm not a big fan of this. Can I don't take any bell pepper?
Okay, imagine paperwork, guys.
Yes,
imagine the bell pepper.
Maybe the research, they have like a research team that generate all this. Maybe just a little bit of research for me.
But I think if you're working with the client, like, you have to research the market, right? Research the market before you like.
But it's more of like doing the actual where you have all the numbers, where you punch into, what's that? The calculators. I don't even know how to use Excel very well.
So I'm not gonna. I think there's a lot of paperwork. So.
Really? There's a lot of strategy as well.
Strategy, I don't know what that means. I want a tomato.
We're gonna have one stick entirely just for presentation, because they have to convince their client that yes, your money is safe. This will generate X amount of profit.
Okay, 10 more seconds.
Okay, wait. I
made one skewer, guys.
I'm so greedy!
Okay guys, time's up.
Meetings with your team and with the clients, because you do research on what people are doing, then you present the solutions in the presentations and the meetings with your clients, and a lot of paperwork because everybody does paperwork.
I think there's a lot of networking. Yeah, like a lot of drinkings. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
For the first one, we are going to get Kelvin to come up with us first. If I clarify, right, so I remember your work is a venture builder, is that right? So can you explain a bit more, because this is not a term I guess regular folks like us might hear very often.
The venture builder, similarly, we do pool money together from LPs or investors. However, we also build our own businesses or take bigger stakes in certain businesses and work with the teams a bit in their operations, a bit in their strategy, a bit in their corporate development, and grow their business alongside them. So this is my skewer platter. Not so many things jammed into one single skewer, but still multiple things for each skewer. There's a variety of things that we do here, especially in the finance industry. It's actually have a good process to it in terms of staging things out. The first stage of anything we do, research. So we research into companies, we do some due diligence, and then go back to research again and finding out more, not just about the companies, but also the industries, in order to see how legit the company is if we do decide to invest in them. After that, we have a discussion thing. So that's when we discuss, and then we strategize, and after that we go back to discussing and then planning again, and then only then we do present to either investors or people who want to work with us. Moving on with the second one, if you notice, it's quite similar in terms of the colors. That's because it's just this but more people focused, and we go through the process of validating and understanding how well the business is or how interested investors are. So this process repeats itself. Lastly, this one has a lot more paperwork, numbers, and then meetings. Investing in businesses, it requires a lot of contract work and accounting, so all this fits into the paperwork side. And lastly, if you notice on my board, there are things on the side. So these are things that don't work out. For example, a strategy, which is the tomato. some strategies don't work out.
So the next person we have is Ben.
Okay, so my role as an analyst in a card network company is basically lots of analysis in terms of the performance of my client. So my client is a bank that provides such financial services to everyday men, right? But at the back of it, there is my company's solutions and our network basically that's driving all these transactions that's going through. Firstly, we start with numbers, right? After that, we have presentation. So I need to present all these numbers to either my bosses internally or back to the client. Then there's a little bit of strategy to see are things going well, are things going right? And lastly, we come back to numbers. A lot of what we do is very data driven. The numbers do not lie and they speak for themselves. So apart from doing my own clients' performance numbers, I also need to check against what other banks are doing. So we start off with research and strategy, research and strategies. Next, we look at the numbers to kind of back up our decisions. And then meetings, presentations, whether internally or externally again. And then we reiterate the process again. How we want to make more money basically in another nutshell. And then on the side here, I put all my paperwork and admin into one side because I think it's like just part and parcel of working life. Apart from what they highlighted just now, like lots of socialization with your colleagues, there's also a negotiation process on what kind of strategy you want to push for, because sometimes what you want, maybe the client's best interest, but the company might be at risk.
For the last skewer here, we have from Sophia.
I'm a financial consultant, so there's a focus in terms of investment risk management. The skewers are very mixed. There are a lot of numbers involved, and a huge part of my day is also made up of meetings. And of course, in terms of what we do for clients as well, if you see here, there's a lot of research, strategizing, as well as some paperwork and numbers. So this is maybe another variety of how my day goes. A lot of my work is also on advisory, on this financial blueprint that we craft for them. So that's why there's a lot of this strategizing, coaching and mentoring that's going on. Okay, and of course there are times in which there are a lot of presentations as well as numbers. A huge part of my day is also made up of meetings. Before we can actually write that plan, there has to be a lot of research that needs to be going to it. After getting to know the clients really well, what's their character like, personality like, yeah, and then we can say, okay, this particular strategy works for you. And of course, that secret sauce is also doing financial education and literacy for my friends.
Alright, so we're going to go into Q&A, and maybe just to start us off, is math like really important in the job and the work that you do?
I'm not very good at math, but I do some of the financial modeling. Most of my work actually involves a lot of thinking, negotiating, and just discussions with people. Yes, you need a certain level of math. However, if you work in a company where there's a support group working with you, you can focus your strengths, which might be focusing on people, and work in these other areas within the industry as well.
I have to say I'm personally good in math. Like that's one of my core strengths. And that actually probably is how I chose this career path.
Yes, I was quite good in math when I was in school. But in terms of the work that I do now, actually it's more important that there's an interest in people. It's very important that someone who comes into this industry has the right intentions. Yeah, if not, you will screw up someone's whole life. But having a team that works together really to support you is really important.
It seems like I'm the support person and they are the ones that are negotiating. Yeah, I mean, as you can see that the finance industry has a variety of different job scopes.
Really, the focus isn't really like what I mean. In the finance industry, I should just focus on the numbers. It's actually a holistic thinking around the people, the operations, and the systems, the industry, as well as the financial aspect of it.
Then what is the draw to be in this industry?
It's not, just about like accolades, money, but it's very much giving value to people.
To me, the draw of being in this industry is how we bring value to the lives of everyday people like yourselves and myself, right? We are empowering each and every one of your transactions, although at the same time, of course, my company makes money during this process. But that's how we survive, right? That's the value we bring, we earn at the same time.
Entrepreneurship and trying to make a difference in multiple industries, I think that's what attracted me to this role. Positive profits, I think that's just the result of how we manage to work with people and grow them first.
So you're almost saying that the profits and the growth in money and all that is a side effect of caring about the people.
What would you like to change in your industry?
Anything that kind of touches money sometimes has a negative effect, which is bringing about greed. I don't know how to change it because the industry is so big and it takes like everyone's part to play, but it's not going to be easy.
I think one of the biggest issues is the financial gap in multiple industries. Meaning there's inequality, there's unfairness, there's that much money needed in order for people to operate and operate well. We want to actually narrow that gap, and I think that's one of the biggest problems we have, and it's related to finance.
How would you say like the working hours, the stress, and maybe like the male domination, is that true? Or?
And I think that a lot of companies are slowly stepping up to make sure that there is better representation at all levels. In terms of hours, the high-paying jobs tends to come long hours also. You have to grow as someone in the industry, so you have to put in your hours as well.
This stereotype, right, revolves around industry culture or company culture. I don't come from that space, but I've heard stories. For me, I want to participate in a more wholesome, more family-oriented culture, a space where there's more equality.
In where I'm from, actually, I think it's quite balanced in terms of females and males. I have heard friends from this industry, they kind of entertain in order to get business. At the end of the day, just like what Louis mentioned, if it's not win-win, actually it cannot sustain.
What advice do you guys have for O-level students who are not sure of what kind of financial education route they want to take?
I would think differently in terms of what industries do you want to participate in, rather than purely, I just want to go into finance. There's a finance department in probably every business.
Sophia, any views? Because you were a teacher.
I came to this industry with science, and then after that I went into psychology for uni, and then after that I came into finance. So there isn't really one particular path that is open.
How did you get to where you are now? Is there anything that you would change?
Actually went to poly. I did business in poly, business in uni. So I ran a startup for about 3.5 years during and after I graduated from uni, and that was a game development startup. Because of that startup, I managed to meet my current boss. I wouldn't change because those 3.5 years, game development, very interdisciplinary. I brought that thinking about systems thinking, about UX and all that into my current work, and that has helped me become better with my current work and for the future as well.
But how I got to meet my boss was I was marking at Starbucks. I didn't know them, and they were discussing about tax planning, for clients and things like that. So I was like, I was very intrigued. I thought I could also do this for myself and my friends around me. That's how I got into the business.
For me, I'm a bit more boring. I took the really tried and tested route from JC, doing the most common subject combination you can never find, straight to university, also taking the most common route everybody was taking, which is business, then majoring in finance. I wouldn't say I would change anything much as well. I think every stage of what you're doing has some value of learning. At some point of time, you would discover something new about yourself or the industry, and then you make your decisions based on that. It's not like the choice that you make in your education would define your career as well. You can eventually still come into finance. Taking an interest in how companies operate and how they make money can be your stepping stone to enter into this foray.
Let's say you have studied in another discipline. Actually, you bring another perspective to finance as well.
And just to close off, in career development frameworks, we have this theory called happenstance theory. And basically, you can't fully predict everything that's going to happen, but you make the most of what you can do. So in place of regret, always change it to learning instead. And that will find you much more interesting paths later on. In the meantime, just as a recap, right, this is done in collaboration with National Youth Council as part of their On My Way initiative. Again, if you are interested to find out more career resources to plan your future, you can search and Google for National Youth Council On My Way, and you'll find a lot more resources from videos to articles and events that you could attend to better understand what you might want to do next. Thanks for joining us in the morning, and see you guys. Bye.